What is going on, sports card hobby family? It's another day, another sports card video.
You take the card and put it in the sleeve.
I promised here a few days ago talking about how I've been flipping football cards to make money and roll that into longer term, bigger ticket PC items. We will talk about all of that today. I'll break it down. Stick around. Huge thanks to today's video sponsor, DC Sports 87. Speaking of buying and selling cards, man, if you want to sell on eBay, but you don't necessarily want to deal with all the packing and the shipping and the listing, everything that comes along with it, I send a lot of my stuff over to DC Sports 87. They run it all. It's a 1 business day turnaround time to request payment. It's just all very quick and efficient. So DC Sports 87, make sure to check them out. All right, this is my first foray into really deep diving into college football cards. And why are we here? Why is this even a possibility? Why is there a window of opportunity? And it is simply because of the divorce going on, or the battle that's going on between Panini, Topps, and all the leagues. They can't get on the same page as far as their card releases go, and there's a huge backlog. The companies are way behind on getting product out, whereas if we went back 3 or 4 years, a lot of times you'd have the college, the draft pick type stuff come out, and then 2, 3, 4 months later, you've got the NFL, the NBA jersey stuff coming out, and all that other stuff really goes down the tubes as far as value goes. Tyler Hero is one that comes to mind for me as a particular example of this. Tyler Hero, of course, had his Kentucky stuff, or a Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones had his Duke stuff. He played at Duke, I think, right? QB for the Giants, might be his last year's QB for the Giants. Of course, Tyler Hero plays for the Heat. But these guys, I remember buying into the college products, quickly flipping out of them because, of course, once the pro uni stuff comes out, you see a dip in price for that college uni stuff. Well, now in today's world, you might be waiting a year, maybe 18 months possibly, before you get any sort of licensed, pro uni type autograph cards for a lot of players now. And so what it does is it creates a longer runway to be able to speculate, buy, and sell these types of cards. And there's just a lot of people that are starting to really enjoy the wild cards and the Leafs. Now look, we've got the Wembanyama, the Topps cards coming out that don't have the pro uni. He's kind of standing sideways for his Topps autograph cards. So of course there's no logo on it because it's not licensed by the NBA. So people starting to get a little bit more familiar friendly with these types of products. So what I did was, leading up to the Super Bowl, so I was very late to the game on this. Where I first actually took this more seriously was watching SCV Sports Cards on YouTube and seeing that he was having success buying and selling Wild Card and Pro Set, Leaf, and really anything, any of these kind of college products. And so I did a little bit more of a deep dive into it. And the week leading up to the Super Bowl, I really focused around quarterbacks, Bo Nix, Michael Penix Jr., and Drake May, because really, first of all, I'm not really a fan of Caleb Williams. I just don't really like his attitude. But then also his stuff was already overpriced. So I was kind of looking at the price points and looking at the Drake Mays and looking at some of these other guys and thinking, you know what, there's probably going to be 5 or 6 QBs taken in the first round of the draft. And we know what happens when that does happen. You have a lot of excitement around these quarterbacks, or even if people feel exactly how I was feeling and what all the analysts were saying, hey, there's going to be a lot of QBs taken in the first round, there's speculation leading up. So I was thinking, man, I need to get on here in February, and I did. I bought quite a few of these types of QBs. I also bought into QBs for next year's draft. We'll talk a bit about that here in a couple minutes. We'll start with just kind of showing a couple of examples. And I will say, not all of these have been hits. I bought a card and sold it and made $5 on it when you factor in all the costs associated. But I've had some wins. I've had a couple small losses just to move off of inventory. But for the most part, I'm up on this venture. I'm up, and I think that I'm going to be completely fine as we head into the national and preseason and that sort of stuff. But so an example of a card that I recently sold was Drake May. Of course, was just drafted by the Patriots. There's going to be a lot of excitement, a lot of New England fans hoping that it's the next Tom Brady. Drake May played here at my local UNC for the Tar Heels, so we've seen him. He's good. He's got a lot of the tools, and of course, it's just going to depend on, can they get some pieces around him in New England so that he has a chance? And these are all cards that I bought raw, graded, and sold. So let me put that out there. Maybe one or two where I bought already graded, but for the most part was looking for good raw cards that look pretty good. Again, you're buying off eBay, so you don't know until you actually see it. But I was like, you know what? I'm just going to do my best here. Look at these cards on eBay, buy raw, grade, sell. All right, so we've got Drake May Early Risers Auto, cool looking card made by Bowman U. $120 all in on this card. I sold it for $179. When you take fees and everything off the top, it's probably a $30 to $35 overall win. 30 to 35 bucks. So for some people that might be like, man, you spent $120 to make 30 or 35 bucks. But I'll tell you, in today's world, that's not bad. I mean, really, and there's a lot of examples where I bought the card all in about $190 to $100, and I made $30 or $40 on the card. And, if I could do that in volume over a 90-day span of time, 60 to 90 days to buy, grade, sell, I mean, I'll take that in today's climate. This is not 2020, 2021, where you buy an already graded card and then 6 weeks later it's doubled in price or tripled in price. And so these are the types of dinking and dunking that I've really enjoyed here over the last couple of months. An example of a next year quarterback, Drew Allar, not sure how to say his last name, the QB at Penn State. And what I did here is I took a look at who is suspected to be a first-round quarterback taken in next year's draft. I looked at all of the people online, all the analysts taking a look at it, and this guy's name popped up quite a bit. He popped up quite a bit as being a first-round talent. And let me also throw out there, I'm not necessarily buying these to hold them all the way through this next college football season to see if they're going to be the next Drake May taken or the next Caleb Williams taken top 5. I probably will sell a lot of these leading up to this season because the one thing I've noticed is there's a lot of speculation already for next season, for next draft class. It's already kind of kickstarted, so I'm just trying to get ahead of that. Now, here's an example of a card where I did better than the other example I just gave. A Big Kahuna, which is kind of like a Kaboom for Bowman U. Cool looking card, shiny, very cool cards. I got it for about $45 all in, tax tag title. Sold it for $138 after grading. And of course, when you do the math on all that, I'm probably up $50, $55, maybe $60 for that particular card. That one worked out pretty well. And there's been quite a few instances of that sort of thing happening where I was able to double up, maybe even triple, not tons of these, but it's happened a few times. And, that makes up for a lot of the, hey, if you took a $5 loss, a $10 loss, maybe the grade just didn't come back the way you wanted it to. It happens. So Drew Allar being an example of one of those from next year's draft. Bo Nix, of course, went to the Broncos and Sean Payton, so I've been selling Bo Nix pretty easily. Michael Penix ended up going surprisingly to the Falcons at 8, and his stuff has sold pretty well also. And so now I'm not buying any of these guys anymore. So the guys that were just drafted, the Drake Mays, the Penix, the Bo Nix, or even like a Caleb Williams, I'm all done with those, and I'm still trying to kind of sell off a few that I might have kind of lingering, but I'm really focused in on that next crop. And Shedeur Sanders, already just kind of very expensive. So and this is what happened with Caleb Williams. And so I really have looked down the line, where could there be value outside of Shedeur Sanders? And again, I'm not necessarily looking for that QB that's going to be, the surprise number 1 overall pick. There will be some guys that break out though, but I'm not buying with thinking that, oh man, I need this guy to, even though he's not on anyone's radar, be the best college football QB next year. I really just need there to be some buzz, some excitement around a team, around a player. And so I'll explain kind of the ones that I have been looking at. I'll start with Dillon Gabriel. So Dillon Gabriel now plays for Oregon. The transfer portal allows for kind of movement among these guys, which is kind of fun because you can see a guy kind of in an okay situation go to maybe a very, very good situation. He transferred from Oklahoma. Oregon also got Evan Stewart, wide receiver Evan Stewart. And so I've been able to buy kind of the Bowman U's. And you might be thinking like, oh my gosh, what do these cost? Literally $15 for a numbered first Bowman auto. This one's out of $4.99. I've got a few of these, but we're talking $12, $15. This one's numbered out of $150 and it was $25. So I'm picking up wide receivers as well as quarterbacks. We saw what happened with Marvin Harrison Jr., but I'm not buying in at these high price points. And again, that's what I kind of like about this strategy, low entry point. So if one of these guys pulls a Marvin Harrison Jr. and ends up being this unbelievable prospect, then these of course go bananas, way above 15 or 20 bucks what it is to buy them, and then I'll grade them out and so forth. And if we're looking at the Dylan Gabriel, like the Leaf autos, we're talking 20 bucks for, and I love, by the way, these are Pro Set. If you can see that, you guys that watch the channel know I'm an 89 Pro Set dork. That's what I used to open when I was a kid. This is my favorite brand that Leaf has. Leaf has some cool products out there that do have niche popularity. So there might be some people who are like, oh, Leaf's garbage. But there are some hardcore Leaf collectors. They sell a lot of product. They actually move quite a bit of product. So this is kind of cool because I can get in on an Oregon team is kind of what I'm looking at that I think is going to be good this year because I don't think their schedule is very difficult. And they now have Dylan Gabriel. They've got Evan Stewart. They've added in a few pieces to where I think that they're going to have a good overall season. I think that team's going to be good. And buying in at $15, $20 for autograph cards, first Bowmans, and some cool looking Leaf cards, it's kind of a no-brainer for me. So those are my Oregon guys that I've got. Let's move quickly over to Ohio State. So not the quarterback, but, and I can't pronounce his name, Emeka Egbuka is the next kind of wide receiver at Ohio State. They always have receivers, so I'm sure there's a couple of guys probably there. But this guy played well opposite of Marvin Harrison Jr., had some injuries here last year, but this guy's a proven commodity there in Columbus. And man, Ohio State fans, they love their wide receivers. And we go back in time a little bit. I know this because as a Saints fan, Michael Thomas, Chris Olave from Ohio State. We have Marvin Harrison Jr. coming. It's basically become wide receiver U over there at Ohio State. And so those Onyx, what I love about the Onyx Vintage is they're on card, where all of the Bowman U stuff, the Leaf stuff, mainly stickers. And although they're not numbered, like have a number written on them, some of them do, depending, but on the back it says the blue ink, like this one, numbered to 400. And then there's green ink, numbered to 50. So it's telling you how many there are. Red to 25, black to 5. And there's also some, I've got some Drake May ones of these where there's inscriptions like Go Tar Heels, so there's some cool options for that Onyx Vintage. And again, those cards were $20 each. For an on-card auto, maybe the top Ohio State wide receiver. And Ohio State's always got buzz because they've got a huge fan base there, and there's a lot of collectors for Ohio State players. So that was my Ohio State play. I don't have a million of these Egbuka autos, but I've got quite a few of them. All right, here's going to be one where I'm shifting over to another quarterback, Jackson Dart. Jackson Dart is the quarterback for Ole Miss. Had a pretty good season last year, but Lane Kiffin running that offense, starting to get things going at Ole Miss. I think with Saban gone, I could be wrong here. I think Alabama takes a little bit of a step back from a recruiting standpoint. Overall, I just don't think the program is going to be Alabama without Nick Saban there. So I think it opens up some opportunities in the SEC. Now, I don't know if it's going to be Ole Miss, but they are already a top 10 preseason team. Spencer Rattler came from South Carolina, was drafted by the Saints, and one of his top receivers, actually his top receiver was drafted by the Panthers, and his second receiver, I can't remember his name off the top of my head right now, but transferred over to Ole Miss. Very, very good receiver. Talking about a true number one receiver, and Ole Miss was already good, and they also added a couple more defensive pieces. I think Ole Miss could be good. Jackson Dart looked pretty good last year. He wasn't amazing. He wasn't terrible. But again, I can get wild card autographs. I have a bunch of them that I bought for $20, $15, $20, maybe $25, depending on which autograph they are. Grade them out, and then my goal there is to sell them at, $60, $70, maybe $80, and maybe more. Maybe Jackson Dart goes off, and I'm able to get a little bit more for him. But again, low price point to get in for the quarterback on a very good SEC team. Now, I've got a couple of guys, too. I did get a tip from some of my West Coasters that watch a lot of college football. Will Rogers is Washington's QB. He's going to stay in Washington. And then we've got Dante Moore is a guy that is I believe he's a freshman now. He's brand new, but a highly touted prospect. He might not play at all next year, but some of these guys you can get in pretty inexpensively on. And then, of course, you can't forget about Quinn Ewers over there in Texas. I like the orange Pro Set. I picked this one up and graded it out. Pro Set is just one of those where it's inexpensive, but it's just a damn cool looking card, especially when you have kind of a color match Pro Set. It's got some shine to it. I've also picked up Georgia's QB Carson Beck. I did a recent sale, a really nice one for Carson Beck where I bought it at $40. I graded it out. It was at like $138 sale. I made almost $100 on that particular card. Carson Beck for Georgia is one where he's really picking up steam. His cards have gotten expensive. I do have quite a few of those that I'll be taking to the National with me, as well as kind of selling into that preseason as we move into the college football season. And so this has been fun to dink and dunk, make some money, but then also it gives me something to watch too. You know, when the college football season rolls around, I'm not a huge college football guy. I'm a big NFL, New Orleans Saints guy, but this is where I can watch some of these prospects, and it's fun. I've got some cards in on them. It didn't break the bank for me to get in on them. I can move off of them and then buy into these longer term holds, as I talk about on the channel quite a bit. Hopefully this helped answer some of the comments that I got asking just, hey, what are you doing on the football prospecting side? So that I wanted to give a little bit of a background in a video here. Hope it was helpful. Guys, thank you very much for joining me here. I hope you have an amazing rest of your weekend. Stay healthy, stay awesome. I'll talk to you again later.